How's it going, YouTube? Coming in today with another video, and today, guys, what the review is going to be the board breaker tier list for the NAWCQ. I've been getting asked a lot about this, and I want to make sure that I made this right before the event so that everyone's as up to date as possible. I know not everyone has a ton of time to sit on DB all day, but you know, I have a little bit of extra time, and I love making content to really show you what's going on in the format so that you're always up to date. Today's going to be a fun one. There's a lot to talk about. X is just in its own category. It does your taxes, it pays your bills, it does your dishes, it breaks the board. It's the craziest card right now. This card is like one of the only cards I can think about in recent history that is just like on par with Kikalos as far as just like doing the most, like way too much. Like that card is definitely gonna get banned. There's no way. But X, you know, that's just the best card right now in forms of board break, but it is a very specific couple of decks that can really play the card. So if you're playing one of those at the event, I feel like you'll probably be pretty okay. But let's go ahead and talk about the rest of them. So one thing that you really want to consider is going to be the decks in the room. The format is going to be a little wider, and one of the decks in the room is going to be Lunalight. I personally really like Lava Golem right now. I think this card's very good. If you don't need your normal summon, that's the huge clause. If you need your normal summon, you gotta find something else. But Lava Golem is a very solid option at the moment. I don't necessarily enjoy Spear Mode right now. I would put this in don't. I don't think that it's very good. Boards are wider, but it's also a problem because, like, you have to be able to out it, right? If you can out it, then it's pretty okay to play. But if you're going to be hand trapping too, then boards are going to be not as big as you want them to be. So, like, we're not playing against the Baron Savage boards anymore where you can just throw a Spear Mode on a huge board and call it a day. Right now we're playing hand trap, make the board minimal, and then Lava Golem, and I feel like that's where Lava Golem is really going to shine this format. Rageki's never going to be like the best card, but it's still something that can come out of nowhere and really be a nuisance, so I would play this card as a tier 2 board breaker. It's okay, it's not going to be the best right now. Same with like striker cards. I would say it's going to be like a tier 2 package right now to go ahead and play second with like your Hornet Drone, your Anchor, and Engage, just because of Droll. And this card doesn't exactly solve any of the problems in the format right now, where cards like Droll are just going to be everywhere, and you need to make sure that you have something in your deck that plays around the most common scenarios, but also can break a lot of the really nuanced boards that we're going to be seeing moving forward. One card that I can see a lot of potential for is going to be Herald of the Abyss. Now, Hound is a card for Lunalight where they can go ahead and negate a Spoiler Trap card, but if you have a Bistrio and you can go ahead and out that, Herald of the Abyss can out the Liger Dancer because this card does affect the opponent. It just affects the player. So it's going to be something that you can activate this, pay 1500, then call the stats of Liger Dancer, and then the player will send the Liger Dancer to the graveyard, which is pretty cool. I think that has a lot of potential. Another one in here that is going to have potential, I think, is going to be Evenly. Because a lot of times right now, people are looking at Lunalight as having like a double Liger Dancer with the IP or SP, depending on which one they want, and Baguska. And I think that's really interesting because if you evenly, it also affects the player. So if they have like double Liger, they have to banish one face down. They can keep the other one, but then you can just like deal with the other one, right? But it has to be like outside of the battle phase, and then again this can still get negated by Hound. So a lot of these are going to have an asterisk on them of if you can like DD Crow it out of the grave and then go ahead and evenly, right? So it's going to have potential, but I still think that evenly is a card that comes out of nowhere a lot of the times and is like really effective. Now, I do think that hand traps are a lot better this format, but I do think that cards like Lava Golem and what have you are going to be pretty important. They're going to be cards that you just want around in case of other situations in the format, because, again, right now, the biggest talk of the town is Liger Dancer and how you're going to out that. So, I think Lava Golem is a perfect answer, in my opinion, because it answers if they have 2. Usually, you won't see 3, especially through a lot of hand traps. So I think this is like the best answer, but that's just in my opinion. Now, Salesman is a card that when it came out, everyone's kind of like, okay, it's just like a one-turn prohibition, who cares? But honestly, it's not that bad, and we've been seeing a lot of topping lists with this in the main and in the side. I would say it's like 1.5. The card itself, it has really good card quality, really good text on it. You know, it's one of those things where you can just kind of shut down something that's a problem. I play it in my Go Second Striker list because you can call Whitebinder too, which that card was a huge issue for Striker because it can just banish all your spells out and you just kind of lose on the spot. But you can also call things like Droll, you can call Impulse, you can call a lot of these cards that you're worried about in the moment. And it's very cool for that situation too, because like, if you think that your opponent has something that could really interrupt you, you can just like randomly call that card and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's not a problem anymore. Like, let's say you're playing against like Branded and you're worried about like Super Poly or something. You see your opponent has like 2 card set, Salesman calls Super Poly, right? And then you're like, all right, cool, I'm gonna play the game. So it is pretty cool. It's even really good against like Vanquish, so you can just call Holy Sue, right? So just another thing that you don't really want to worry about and you don't necessarily have to worry about at that point. Ulti Slayer, I don't really think this card's that good anymore. I'm gonna put it at 2. It might be like mid 2. It's like okay, but like there's so many other decks in the fray right now that I feel like that card really just lacks a lot of the power that it had once. And it's still like okay, but I just wouldn't play it right now. I think that it's very mid. Unfortunately though, because I really did pull for Ulti Slayer being a good card and talk about it a lot. But, you know, the format does change, and I think right now we're just at one of those points in the game where it's not that good. And a lot of the things that I would say are not good right now are things that, like, specifically target, and that's going to be, like, your Change of Hearts. I think that the Change of Heart, Mind Cons, things like that right now, they're just not good. And, you know, I haven't been good in a little while, which is crazy because, you know, this was once a banned card. And talent is a little different, but the ones that target, I feel like right now they're just really not that great because there's just so many other things on boards and like there's a lot more layered boards and things that you got to worry about where cards like Change of Heart really don't answer them right now. It'll come back in the game later on, but right now it's pretty mid. 1.5 I would say is going to be Lightning Storm and Duster together. I think both of these cards are really phenomenal cards, but like there's not enough back row right now to really be concerned about. Post side, there's Solemns for sure, and that's something that you really want to be concerned about. And you can definitely run Lightning Storm or Duster for that, but I feel like they're just not as great as just playing cards to play through those cards, right? Because I feel a lot of the times if you're going to bait like a Solemn or you're going to bait like Purification, right? There's just better ways to do it than just like ripping a Duster that just automatically trades like 1-for-1, which is like fine, it's not bad, but I just feel like there's other cards that kind of help you play through these things a lot better than just like 1-for-1 trading, because I feel like right now, if you're going second, in this format especially, your cards have to trade like 1-for-2, not just like 1-for-1, or else you're kind of just really far behind, and I'm trying to find all the cards right now that just trade for more. And I feel like that's going to be a really important piece of winning the NAWCQ. The next 2 that are going in Tier 1, I feel like this isn't really too much of a conversation, but I'm going to talk about it. So we have Talent here. This card's at 1 for a reason. This is the one that I'm kind of like, yeah, obviously, you know, like this card's going to be in Tier 1, and it'll probably be top of Tier 1. Next up is Droplet, though. I think this is one that's kind of fallen out of the meta for a long time, but like, Droplet is so good. It doesn't even matter if your opponent has like Detonator with Eclipse Twin attached to it. If you just go ahead and Droplet it, better be able to send it to grave, right? And then be able to use the Eclipse Twin. It's a really, really crazy card, and I love that we're seeing it come back into the meta. The card itself answers quite a lot, and I feel like this is a card that you're going to want with you at the NAWCQ. It does answer a lot of very niche situations, especially if you randomly run into like Morganite and they're on like the Vanities Ruler and what have you, you know? You just go ahead and Droplet. So it just answers a lot of really unnecessary situations while also being a very meta-ready card. Fenreer, I'm going to put it in Don't. Again, it's just the targeting. I don't really think that's very good right now. I think that there's a lot better options in the format. And, you know, it's another card that really hasn't been phenomenal lately. So it's not really a surprise, but maybe it'll come back in the meta here in a little bit. And that's going to be the same thing with Pinkertops too, honestly. They're pretty on par with each other. And I feel like the reason why Fenreer has survived the ban list for so long is because the card is pretty fair. Yeah, it does search on the copy of itself or like Unicorn, and then it has like the Banishing. But like, all in all, if that's what the card does, it's like the least threatening card in the game right now, you know? Would you rather your opponent have a Fenreer or an Ext in hand, right? So, Fenreer just really doesn't do it right now. It's okay, but it's not going to be like the greatest. Kurakara, I'm going to put this in could have potential. It's okay. Your opponent could still like just not use the Liger Dancer. If they know they're playing against the Vanquish Soul deck, they're just probably not going to use it, right? Or they're just going to wait until the very last second to use it. Because at that point, your opponent is just going to go ahead and summon Kurakara. It's a very common card right now in VS, just because it is a fire. So I feel like the only deck that's going to play it right now is going to be very telegraphed. And then if you know that it's going to be there, you have a little bit more leeway to play around it. So not necessarily too concerned about this. So could have potential, could not, but it's going to be an interesting card nonetheless. The next one here is Book of Eclipse, and I feel like there's enough decks in the meta right now where this could see some play, but it's not going to be phenomenal. I'm going to put it at like bottom of tier 2. It's very okay. I feel like the books are always just that. They're just very okay right now. But like when they're really good, they're really good. But when they're not, they're kind of like, eh. It's not going to be the worst card you'll play, but it's definitely not going to be the best. As for Kaijus, I don't really like these. I'm going to put them at like 1.5. Yeah, they out like a single Liger Dancer, which is cool. But like, I feel like there's going to be more boards than not that are putting up 2. And I'd rather just play Lava Golem so I have an auto answer for it instead of just being like, wow, I hope that this one Game of Seal is going to out both of them, right? It's just not going to happen. So definitely a little bit more awkward for that matter, but I do think that they're okay. I just really like Lava Golem this meta. The next one here is going to be in Don't Shaddoll Fusion package. I think that's really cool. You can send the Nesh Shaddoll Genius, and then your opponent can't activate the Liger Dancer if you call Liger Dancer, because the Genius affects the player. So it's a really cool little thing that you can do in your deck, where you can dump that, dump Beast, summon Opclone, get 2 negates and a draw. It's a really good engine, but again, with Hound, it just is a little bit lackluster. And maybe your opponent lets this just resolve, right? Because they don't know that that's going to come because it's so niche. But, like, end of the day, not my favorite card right now. I think that it's really cool and it has a lot of potential, but maybe later on we'll see it more. The next one here is going to be top of 1.5. This is going to be Super Poly. A lot of people will tell me that I put this card too high, but I think this card is phenomenal. I think this card does so much work. Especially right now, if you see your opponent ending on like the full pure Mitsu board, and then you just hit him with Super Poly, even if they have prayers to bring things back, that's fine. I still feel like Super Poly just answers so much. And there's so many different decks right now where they're just putting up different things on the board that just like work well with Super Poly. Even going against Malice and having their Earth Golem at Ignister, I think that's fantastic. I think this card has unlimited value right now, and it's something that you should really consider because it just deals with problems immediately instead of you trying to find like a weird way to out something. Another one in Don't is going to be Dark Ruler. Boards are just too layered. It's not going to answer enough for you, and then you can't even like attempt to kill your opponent that turn. You have to wait till like the follow-up turn, which is really bad. And if your opponent has like Purification or something, this never mattered anyways. And even if they did, they might not even use it, to be honest. So it's definitely just not a great card, and I would not recommend it. One that could have potential again is going to be Metatronis. I think this card can be really good or really bad. It just depends on what you think is going to be the most popular in the room. But I do think that right now with new targets, Metatronis is going to be a pretty okay card. But we'll see from testing over the next week how effective this is going to be. Now, for the last one here, it's going to be Gordian Slicer. This card is always very good, and I'm going to put it right underneath the Duster here. I think that Gordian Slicer is fantastic for decks that don't care about their extra deck. Absolutely go for it. This card's crazy. But again, layered boards can make things very awkward for cards like this. Not saying that it won't be phenomenal nonetheless, but it can be a little awkward at times. So just make sure that you are prepared for that if you're playing a card like this, that you're just not really using your extra deck, because this card can be very impactful in the metagame. Definitely let me know down below what you think about this, and I hope that you all have a wonderful night, and I'll catch you on the next video. Thank you.